Eddie, I saw some clips from the press conference that you had to announce this Berlanga versus Shiraz fight, as well as Shakur Stevenson versus Zepeda. Um, just something off the top of my head, man. Berlanga's been doing some interviews. I feel like there's some sort of resentment on his end towards you. I don't know where it's coming from. Let me know, like, why is Edgar mad at you?
I don't think he is. I mean, when I saw him outside the hotel yesterday, he come over, gave me a massive cuddle. I love you, man. Oh, yeah. And I said to him, I said, that you should actually have a picture of me in the lounge of your massive mansion. And every time you wake up in the morning and you walk past it, you should go, thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Because you won the fucking lottery the day you met me. Let me tell you. And I think it's like a lot of this stuff, even with it, I mean, Eubank definitely resents me a lot more than Berlanga does, but I think it's like when you're looking at a way to create a little bit of noise, having a go at Eddie Hearn is a good place to start. So, there was definitely a little fallout between us post Canelo. And in terms of maybe my perception of his star and his value versus his, which if you listen to him talk, I think you can understand that. But he's a great talker and he's a great personality and he's a good fighter. So, he's got a great fight on July 12th. And I think a lot of what he does is for the cameras, but a lot of what he does, he's kind of made himself believe. So it's a good fight, July 12th.
Yeah, the falling out has to do with I guess like the purses, right? That he was asking for as opposed to like the economics of what you guys were
No, not
seeing.
really. No, not
No?
really. I mean, it was more he believed that he could go to Puerto Rico after the Canelo fight in a poor fight and sell out a really big arena there. The intel and the data suggested otherwise. So we couldn't really reach a deal on that. But we had a clause in his contract that we signed for the Canelo fight that we would give him a comeback fight on the undercard after Canelo, which is what he wanted, just to get a win. And then when we did that, he didn't like the fact that he was on the undercard and it was, that kind of look. But that's what his manager requested in the contract. So we were only following the contract. And then it was like 4 weeks out to the event, and it was like it was just a bit of a mess. But we never really, at the fight, after the fight, yesterday, he's very huggy, friendly with me. So I think at the end of the day, when you do such a great job for someone like we did, you can only really shake hands and say, like, maybe we don't agree on everything, but I know you were true to your word to the point in the contract. You delivered everything you promised you'd do. And in the process, we made him well over double digits for 3 fights. And he's Edgar Berlanga. Like, I'm not being fun. Like, it's not like he's Canelo Alvarez or, and he's a good fighter. Like, he's going to be in a fun fight, and it'll be a tough fight for both on July 12th.
Yeah, I remember hearing Oscar say one time when fighters would leave him and do their own thing, like, hey, it's nothing personal, it's just business. I feel like he learned that like over the years, because he himself did that when he left Bob Arum and so many other fighters. Like, have you gone to like that point where it's like no hard feelings? I know it's just business, just hey, you're
Depends
looking
how
out for
it
you.
plays out. I guess it's
Yeah.
case by case. You also you have to understand the business and the work. Like, it's a very tough sport. I think that the problem with a lot of fighters is they get poisoned by people around them. In their ear, oh, this guy, you got to do this and that, and a lot of people that don't know what they're doing or talking about. But you've got to look out for yourself in this sport. And I think that the reality is sometimes you don't have anything for a fighter and they're better off elsewhere. I think us and Edgar could have probably stayed together, but he's ended up getting it. Timing's everything and luck. Like, he came out of, if there was no Riyadh season Ring Magazine offer, I don't actually know what he would have done. Top Rank obviously fallen out with. There's us. I think with PBC it's only Plant and he's fighting Charlo. So, I'm saying he got lucky because he worked hard, but just timing worked out for him where he walked into a big offer to fight Hamza Sheeraz. So other fighters, Canelo Alvarez, probably the greatest example. where, he was very honest with us from the start. Eddie, if you have a good option for me, I'm with you. I like you guys. You're the team I want to work with. But if you don't have an option for me, I'm going to go elsewhere. I prefer that kind of relationship and that upfrontness, if you like, where exactly, and we got to a stage, I think we did, I don't know, 7, 8 fights with Canelo. And then we run out of options for him. And he said, "What have you got for me?" I'm like, "The Bivol rematch." And that's it. So you're not going to take that fight. He doesn't want to take that fight. So then he's got to go to PBC. So I think sometimes it's hard when you make an investment in a fighter and you really feel like you've done a great job and you've delivered at every level. And I'm someone that if you show me the loyalty, I will have your back and I will work so hard for you and I will never stop delivering for you. So I'm a massive asset if you're loyal to me. And if you're not, it's okay. I mean, probably half the fighters that we represent, you probably get the feeling that they would drop you or go elsewhere for an extra $10,000. And then the other half, no, they're solid people. And then maybe 10%, these are the people that I would do anything for, anything, and that's the kind of relationships I want, if I'm honest. They're the ones and that's where you'll see me go crazy when they win. They're the ones that we have that real close affinity with.
Hey, Eddie, just want to get some updates on a few things. One, I heard you in the group huddle talk about negotiations for Teofimo Lopez versus Jaron Ennis. What's the latest on that? What's movement on that?
So we've been talking to His Excellency about boots against Teofimo. I think originally it was more October. It could be around August time now. We like the fight. I mean, I think for Boots, after the Chudasian fight, he was really considering a move to 54. The Stanionis unification came around, and that's what he wanted to do more than anything. So we did that. He performed really well in that fight. And now it's like, do I stay at 47 or 54? What are my options? Can you get me another belt? And I'm like, well, right now, Brian Norman's on the missing list. He's disappearing to Japan for a fight. And Pacquiao's fighting Barrios. So, no is the answer. Okay, well, what have we got at 54? Then out of the blue, the Teofimo Lopez fight comes around. So, it may not be a massive motivator to Ennis because it's just a defense, but it is a big fight. And obviously the money's good, the profile's good. So I think my answer is if Jaron stays at 147, I think there's a very good chance he'll fight Teofimo Lopez next. And I think if he doesn't fight Teofimo, he'll probably move to 54. But, he's also got the Shakram Gearsoft mandatory, so the key for him was to unify. He's done that. In an ideal world, we'd fight all the other champions very quickly, but it doesn't always play out like that.
When is he going to make his mind up as what he's going to do?
I think on that fight, I mean, we're under no pressure time-wise, only on the Teofimo fight. And that really came, I want to say like 3 or 4 days ago, where it was like, right, do you want to do it? And, and we're negotiating. That's what we're doing. It's a massive fight. It's a great fight. And my recommendation to Jaron is if we're staying, then I think we should definitely consider it.
You're confident that it does happen? I know in the past there has been some difficulties negotiating with Teo on Top Rank's part due to the purse. That shouldn't be an issue this time.
I don't know. As I understand it, his deal's in place with Saudi. Our deal's not. Obviously, we're the champion going into that fight. So, generally the challenger will be getting less money. But we'll have to see what the offer is and see if it's something that Boots wants to do.
I guess, is he hot or cold on the idea of that?
In an ideal world, he wants to unify. Again, Boots is a very refreshing character in terms of legacy over money, right? So, of course, money's important to him, but what is important to him is proving himself against the champions and the best. So I wouldn't say that the Teo fight's like him going, oh, wow, I'm getting to fight. It's like, yeah, good fight, I get it. I beat him up. But can we not get Norman or Barrios? No, not at the moment. Okay, we'll consider that.
Okay. Would the fight take place like here in the US, or would it be something that we'd see it in Riyadh?
I think more likely Riyadh.
Oh no, Eddie, no. That fight has to be here. Come on.
Why?
What do you mean why? That's an awesome fight for the US fans.
But I'm sorry, there is another world out there, just not just in America,
Yeah,
you
but
know.
they're two US fighters.
Yeah, but also at the same time, it's a massive fight in Riyadh. So I get it. I know that we could do that fight in Philadelphia and do 21,000 at the Wells Fargo, you know. But also at the same time, we got to understand that boxing is going through a growth period in other territories. And we've got to allow that growth to happen, not just like, we can't take a fight over there. That's outrageous. It's like, well, Fury against Usyk went there, and look what it probably did for getting that fight made, and also for the fans in that region.
Oh man, I know. I just feel like, well, I guess this year that there's been more fights in the US. I think for the last 2 years though, there hasn't been a lot of fights in the US.
Yeah, I understand.
Now I'm going to ask you, Eddie, to become the pundit because I just got to hear your take on two things. You have a little smile, a smirk going on in your face.
I always
First,
get myself into trouble with these ones.
all right. So this Devin Haney Ryan Garcia rematch, should it happen? Should we see it happen? Did the luster fall off of it because of the performances we saw on the ring card a few weeks back?
I mean, of course, the luster has fallen right off it. It's still an amazing fight, but I just feel like it can be bigger than it is right now. And I think it can be better. Like, let's be honest, that looked like two guys that were out of sorts, low on confidence. So why not let them fight when they're in form and they're confident and they can really give us a great fight? I think they need another fight each. That's what I think. I still think we've got to make the fight. It's a great fight for boxing. There's so much conversation and controversy and narrative around it. But I just think if you said now, like imagine if those guys would have gone in and looked great, you got a massive fight on your hands. Now, I think honestly, if you announce that fight, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it would build up, but no, I couldn't really see the excitement from fans in anywhere near the same way as it could have and probably should have been.
How would you match them coming into it? Because some would say, like, well, you can't risk it. If you put them in a match again, they're at risk of losing again.
I think Devin confidence was really low, right? You saw that particularly in the first 3 or 4 rounds of the fight. But he banked 12 rounds and he'll be much better next time. Ryan needs a soft opponent because if he gets beat again, his career's over, right? Or maybe at world level. So I think he just needs a top 15 guy. Go out there. I do think there was elements of, like he said, behind closed doors, felt like a sparring session, but you've got to be more professional than that. You knew what you were signing up for. So yeah, I think for Devin, I don't think he needs to be matched as softly as Ryan does, but they've got to be smart with it now because Ryan's in a pretty bad place.
Yeah, Bill did an interview. He's done a few interviews actually, just saying like, hey, that's Ramirez's fault. Ramirez should have tried to bring the fight more. This was part of Devin's plan. There was no thing of PTSD from the Ryan fight or confidence or any of that. That's exactly what we trained to do to fight like that.
It's really difficult because these are fighters. It's very dangerous. The art and the skill is hit and don't get hit, right? Now, there is an element of the audience that really understands and respect that. But the huge bulk, 95% of the audience, want to see a great all-action fight. So it wasn't necessarily that Devin was fighting off the back foot. He was running for the first 4, 5, 6 rounds of that fight. Now, when he held his feet, he would hurt Ramirez. But then he would go, but listen, but at the same time, he had a lot to overcome. So we're all very harsh in that respect. But, you know, fighting like that with that style is going to turn a lot of people off. So is it Ramirez's job to cut the ring off and have more success? Yeah. Was it Canelo's job to do that against Skull? Yeah. But it is very difficult when people are coming to fight so negatively.
You mentioned Canelo, and because of that performance against Skull, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of trainers, a lot of pundits have changed their opinion of the Crawford fight. At first, they'd say like he's just too big for Crawford. But now I'm hearing because of that performance, they've flipped their picks. Do you see that fight now differently based on how Canelo performed against Skull, Eddie?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It wasn't just the fact that he couldn't cut the ring off. I just feel like the timing now, the age, Canelo is amazing. I mean, not just because of his ability and what he's accomplished, but the fact that he still has the desire for those training camps and those fights. But I just feel like that desire might be fading a little bit. Not because of his love, but just because of age and life. Do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, like the Crawford fight will definitely get him up for it. But I was actually watching that fight thinking I wouldn't be surprised if he retired and actually didn't fight Crawford, because I don't think he'll want to lose to Crawford, a much smaller guy, just because he's at the end of the road. But the fight's so big and the money's so big, he's gonna have to take it. I bet he retires after that fight.
No, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Why would you carry on? Like, you fight Crawford. Who else is there for Canelo Alvarez to fight? Maybe
David Benavidez. Yeah.
But he's just not gonna like the size of Benavidez. Now, is Benavidez going to come back to 68? I don't know. Like, again, the same thing. I don't think Canelo would want to lose to Benavidez because he's not the fighter he was. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of pride for those guys. So he's made a huge amount of money. I don't know. Look, maybe it was just fighting in Saudi, the negative opponent, all this kind of stuff. But I was sitting next to Bud for the whole fight, and I was thinking, I think you'll probably beat him.
Oh, wow.
Don't get me wrong, it's a very tough fight for both. Great fight. But the movement of Terence Crawford and the ring IQ, and he looks like, in my opinion, the younger, fresher fighter, even though they're both, 36 and 38? It's amazing.
I know I don't have much time left with you, Eddie. I just wanted to just quick follow up on that. When you were watching the fight with Bud, what was he telling you when he was watching it round by round by round?
Well, we had the fight very close.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Bud did.
don't get me wrong, Canelo won. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, after about 8 rounds, they put up Chris Mannix's score on the screen, and it was 8-0 Canelo. And he was like, I've got Skull winning the fight at this stage. Now, in the end, he just didn't do anything more, and Canelo just did a little bit more, and he won the back end of the fight. But it was very close. 115, 113, 116, 112. I think that's right. But Bud is watching that fight going, oh, I'll just sit like, his ring IQ is incredible and his belief's incredible. He's watching that fight going, I know exactly how to beat him. Now, doing it is different. And the weight disparity, of course, is going to be a problem. But I actually think he's turned into the favourite.
Wow. Wow. So you think he wins then?
I think he can win. Yeah. It's just everything's about momentum. And I just don't, but again, like Canelo was fighting Skull, like he probably wasn't overly motivated. So he's a great competitor, but I don't think he's ever wanted the Crawford fight. Not because he's afraid of Crawford, just because he thought, why would I fight a guy 2 or 3 divisions lower than me? If I beat him, no one's going to give me any credit. And I hate movers. He hates fighting movers.
Shakur against Zepeda, this was a fight that you felt maybe it might not happen because Zepeda and Oscar didn't want to take the fight. We're seeing that the fight is now official on this Berlanga versus Shiraz card. I'm already seeing a lot of talk from Shakur saying, hey, don't say this is an easy fight if I make it look easy.
Yeah, it's a great fight. I mean, I think Oscar knows that Zepeda's really up against it here, but obviously the numbers made sense for them to roll the dice. I think without Ring Magazine or Riyadh Season, I don't think this fight would have happened, if I'm honest. But Zepeda's a great fighter. I think style-wise, it's a great matchup, especially for Shakur Stevenson. He's a guy that is a tremendous counter-puncher. He obviously likes fighters to come towards him. Zepeda is all action, very aggressive, throws a huge amount of punches. I think it's a very good fight.
After which Shakur becomes a free agent, or you guys re-signing him, you feel, Eddie?
This is the last fight of our existing deal. So we'll be working from now up until the fight and beyond to try and keep him at Matchroom. Obviously, we've got a great relationship. Same thing, what I said to you before. I think if you said to Shakur, who do you think is the best promoter in the world and who would you like to be with? He would say Eddie and Matchroom. But if we can't come up with a deal, that will change very quickly. But we definitely have the relationship and the communication to extend that deal. And that's obviously the plan.
Just an update on AJ. How's he doing? When is he coming back? Is there a date? Is there any movement whatsoever for AJ?
Yeah, he's doing good. He's having a little operation this week, just some keyhole on his elbow. And then he'll be good to go from September, really. So you're only going to see him fight once this year. Obviously, having that delay with injury allows us to kind of see what happens in Dubois against Usyk, particularly with Fury. I just saw another post from him today hitting the bag, teasing us. So yeah, I don't know who, but he'll be back post September, and excited to do so.
All right, Eddie. As always, it's good catching up with you. Thank you for the time. I know you got a few other things you got to do, so I appreciate the time, and anytime you go ahead and share with us, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
All right. Good stuff, Eddie.